Well, this is the Halverson HWP 120 wood processor. And this is CNC Equipment, who sells these things, and they're nice enough to let us try this unit out. Now, we did a video on it previously, and I said if you guys have any questions about how this thing works, ask them in the comments and we'll do a question and answer video, and that's what this is. We're going to get down and dirty, in depth on this thing, take a closer look at it. We're going to pull some panels off, go over the general maintenance. And I've got this old hickory log sitting here. We're going to run that through and kind of show how some things work in order to answer some of these questions. It's going to be a good one. And I probably ought to mention that this is the fella that's letting us use this TL240 until we can get our permanent setup on the back of this Ford 555. Yep, that's the ultimate goal. We've got auxiliary hydraulics on this unit, and I've got the hard lines that run out the boom. The ultimate plan is to build a quick attach hitch on the back of that we can put this thing on the end of that stick, have a pile, scoop up a log, swing it over what we're loading into, and split it. But until we get to that point, Mike's hooking us up with the TL240, which is super nice of him, so make sure you tell him thanks. We'll start out with the number one question. Can you accidentally cut the steel bed with the saw? And the short answer is no. There is a switch down on this end. Unless that is in contact with that switch, the saw won't drop. But let me just show you so you'll believe me. Okay, so you can see the bed down there, and on this machine the bed's controlled on this button. Now you can customize, based on the wiring harness, you can customize what button does what for your machine, but I've got it on this one. We'll retract that bed, and the saw is on the trigger. But if I run that bed out where it's under that saw, nothing. So the bed has to be fully retracted before that saw will drop down. And then I had a fella ask, how long can you cut this? He cuts 20-inch wood. Well, let's just find out. Looks like 20 inches is right there. So I would think you would be able to. It's like the whole thing is 24, but depending on how it falls in there, I think you could cut 20-inch wood. But I'd say there's a really good way to find out. Let's just pick her up and go. Somebody asked, can you cut longer than 10 foot? 10 foot's what they recommend. But I bet if you got comfortable with it, you could cut longer than 10 foot. That fella's about 13. Let's see how she does. So you can see the problem you run into when she gets a little longer. Obviously, anytime that gets longer than what the bed is here, it gets over that tipping point, she's going to tip out. But I think if a fella got a little bit of experience and seat time running it, and you can work with the grapple of the bed, you could do longer than 10 foot. This here's a 13 footer. I think we're going to be okay with it. I don't like these being on here. When you leave these sticks on, they kind of snag on this stuff, so it's something to keep an eye on. Before we make that cut, another guy wanted to know how hard it is to switch out these wedges. It's got a 6-way on it right now, and it came with a 4-way. Let me just show you. You just pull the pin. You just pull the pin. Yeah, it's really not that bad. You take that pin out from below. Give her some wiggles. Drop in the 4-way. Then you just drop that 4-way in. This is the pin that came out of it. If you have somebody helping you, it's going to go a little easier, but it's not bad by yourself. You just got to kind of have everything staged. There's the hole there. slide the pin in. And then the keeper. Like that. Not too much trouble at all. It does have a lifting hook here. If you wanted to lift with a chain, I guess it felt good, but they're not bad. Well, let's see how we can cut this on length. Measure this, try to hook to that mark. About 21.5 inches is where we're sitting. See how she splits. There you go, no problem at all on that. Oh, about 22 on that piece there. And I handled it just fine. I think with a little bit of practice, you could run 20s through there pretty easy. And some people asked, what if you want to cut shorter wood? How do you know how long the firewood is that you're cutting? Now that's a good question. And on this model, you just got to eyeball it. Now I've got a $10 solution that'll make it really easy for you though. But I do believe, and don't quote me on this, just call CNC Equipment and ask them. I'll put their info down below in the description. But I think the next few models up, I think you can program a limit switch to automatically do the length. Don't quote me on that. They would know. Call them and ask them. Let me show you my idea though. So this is just magnetic tape. Now I don't know if this is going to work, but this is my $10 fix to know the exact length of the log. So the theory is, as long as I know where the end of the bed is during the processing part, and the log matches up with the end of the bed, then I can know the exact length of my log and I can cut this exactly how I want it. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure over from here, and we're just going to put this on here with some measurements, and then we'll test it out and see if I'm right. So there's the theory. As long as I can line that bed up with that mark or close to it, I got 12, 14, 15, and 16 on there. You guys can read, right? Well, let's try it out. So I was aiming for something between 13 and 14 inches. Most of what we use is campfire wood. And we're right at about 13 inches. 13 or so. 13. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad for the first test on that setup. So if you're worried about getting good consistent wood length, $10 a magnetic strip and a paint marker is gonna go a long way for you. In fact, if you want to ditch the magnetic strip and just paint you something up right there, right at the bottom of the bed, you can do that pretty daggone easy. So I think that's pretty slick. I think it's worth pointing out, we're slicing through some knots pretty good here without any issues. Look at that. That's not pretty wood. It's doing it pretty easy too. Another question we got is, what about the visibility? How easy is it to see where the saw is at, the bed is at, and the wedge is at? The higher it is, the easier it is for you to see what's going on. Obviously, it's going to vary machine to machine. The best thing I can tell you is the more you run it, the more you use it, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. But you can see where that loader arm's at. I cannot see that wedge. If we raise her up in the air a little bit, there's my little measurement gauge, there's the wedge, and you can see where the bar is at, but now you can't see the grapple. So it's just one of those things. Now if I lean forward, there's the grapple, there's the bar, there's the wedge. And a little bit of seat time goes a long way. What I've noticed is after running it just a few hours, I don't need to see the grapple, I don't need to see the bar. You can tell by what the machine is doing sound-wise what the machine is actually doing. So a little seat time goes a long way, but I did come up with a pretty cheap solution I want to try out and see if it helps. So for like 60 bucks on Amazon, here is a backup camera with a monitor. And I've been wanting to do one of these for a long time anyway, because I want to put one on the back of the tractor whenever I'm bush hogging, because I'm lazy and I don't want to turn around the whole time I'm doing it. I'm not gonna lie, so far the hardest part of this setup is find the daggone 12-volt power supply. I think it'd be pretty obvious. I'm just shoving my hand around looking for holes like a daggone teenager again. Well, he's got to have one because he runs his joystick off it for the grater blade. But I'm telling you, I can't find the daggone thing. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm going to try to do it one-handed so you can watch it on the screen as far as what we're looking at. But I can even see my measurements on the bar right there. So I know I want to be right there. See my grapple close, see the bed retract, level down on my grapple. See my grapple go up, see the bed push out. Log splits. Come back to where I want it, right about there. Again, I don't think the visibility is that big of a deal. Like I said, after you run it for a little bit, you just kind of get used to the sounds it makes, and you just, it's still muscle memory. A little bit of seat time goes a long way. But if visibility is a concern for you, there's a pretty cheap, inexpensive, easy solution where you can see everything you need to see from the comfort of the cab without having to lean forward or look around things. Probably the second most popular questions or most popular topic, aside from can you cut the bed with the saw, is the overall maintenance of it and what you got to do to take care of it. So we'll dive into it a little bit here. I can't remember what size that was. I guessed a 1/2 inch. It's not a 1/2 inch, that's a 12. All right, it is 1/2 inch. I had a 12. It's I missed the hash mark. Anyway, dive into this a little bit. And that one. One more on the outside right there. There we go. Now we'll take a gander down yonder. So you can see there's your switch for your bed. There's your jug for your bar oiler. It's got an automatic oiler. Comes up on the outside. And you can tell she's doing a good job. So the bar is lubricated with an oiler just like any other chainsaw bar would be. We got pressure relief valves down here. And of course all your other valves. But every now and then it'd just be a good idea. You can see stuff like bark and leaves and dust. It all gets down here. But they got big old holes. You can just shove that stuff out the bottom or take a hose and rinse it out. Wouldn't take much. So pretty easy maintenance as far as that goes. And then there are a few grease fittings that you got to hit. They've got stuff notched out, so it's pretty comfortable and easy to get to them. But there's really not a whole lot. So there's really not a whole lot of maintenance to it aside from just taking care of it, keeping it clean. Everything that you need to maintain it is pretty accessible, easy to get to, which I like. And you can see down in there, there's quite a bit of dust that's accumulated, but again, I mean, it's wide open. You shove a hose down there, a garden hose, or even just an air nozzle, and you're going to be able to get all that debris out of there very, very easily. I don't think there's a lot of traps where it's going to trap debris and cause any rust issues in the long run. I mean, it's pretty wide open on the bottom, which is pretty nice. Another comment that was made to me, and actually not on the video, but it was in person, a fella said, pretty slick unit you got on the channel right now, but where I come from, my trees don't look that straight. Can it handle logs with some curves in it? I'm not saying it's the most crooked tree, but she's got some whoop-de-doos and whoop-de-don'ts. She's dead and she needs to come down anyway. We'll cut some sections out of her and see how she does. Of course, the catch here is I've got to miss the brand new raised beds. So this really neat thing happened where I forgot to press record, but it's okay. All right. Sometimes that happens. Let me get everything cleaned up that I'm not going to save for splitting. We'll cut that big crotch out and we'll see what we can get to happen with this thing. I give the dismount an 8 out of 10. On the wedge isn't the ideal thing. Already had the tractor out cleaning up that mess, so it just made sense just to bring the log over to the machine. But she's a pretty goofy log. She's got quite a bit going on. It's where she started trying to be a double at some point in her life. We'll see what she does. I also want to show you, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up on it, but I want to show you what I mean by at some point after you run it for a little bit, you can just hear the machine and you kind of know what's going on. If you ever end up like this, all you got to do is just slide to bed a few times and it'll work it that way and it should be good to go. Just like that. I got the grapple on this one. See how you can hear it? It's under load. I know that's closed. I know that's open. You can just listen to what the machine's doing and you kind of know what's going on up there. I don't have water over here at the barn. We're going to run this over to the house, give it, and we'll go ahead and give the taco a little bit of a bath. Cleans up easy. Like I said, you can just shove that hose down in there, all them chips and everything gets washed out the bottom. Pretty good design, honestly, as far as maintenance. One other question I got that I want to address. Talking to somebody about this the other day, not on the channel, just in real life, and I thought it was a great question, and they brought up a great point. They said if you want to split the cost, if you and a farmer down the road both heat with wood, You both have wood boilers. You both have your own individual skid steers because of the farm anyway. Can you run one processor off of 2 different machines? And the short answer is yes. You would just have to have 2 of these connections. This connector is specific to this machine. When you get this, and Clint's got a video coming out on it real soon, I think mid-May, they send you this part and the wires separate. And you go through with the voltage tester and you test your pins, you get it set up on the buttons you want, you make all the connections, and then this is the harness for your machine. So if you're going to split the cost of this, you're going to share it with a neighbor or another farmer down the road, then all you'd have to do whenever you went to order this from Jay or Clint from CNC Equipment, all you would have to do is just get 2 of these and set one up for each one of your machines, and then you should be good to go. Just like I said, plug and play. You'd all be ready. It would work pretty well. So yeah, technically, if you want to split the cost of this with somebody else who also has a skid steer or a tractor that would run this, yeah, you could absolutely do that. The last 2 questions that somebody asked was, can this be stowed in the down position for storage? And that is bolted on. I suppose if you weren't going to use it for a really long time and you wanted to take those bolts out, take the bar off, I suppose you could, but in an easy way, the answer is going to be no. It's kind of made to stay like that, which is nice because it kind of protects the bar when it's stored too, so you don't whack into it with something else. And the other one was, could you buy this unit, put a longer bar on it, and use it on a larger diameter tree? My suggestion would be to size up. And here's why. There is some room here. I guess technically if a fella really wanted, you could maybe possibly do that. But this isn't the only limiter on the diameter. It's also the way the grapple is set up, this distance here. So you'd have to rework your grapple. And then it's also going to be however your wedge is set up in that bed as well. Maybe you could if you wanted to. I don't think they're going to recommend it. I don't think I would recommend it. I would suggest to just size up if you're using a bigger diameter tree. You're going to be cutting a bigger diameter tree. I had a lot of people say, well, where I'm from, I cut 36-inch rounds. Neat. That's awesome. But I'm willing to bet if you spent the money on a wood processor, you'd probably cut the trees that fit the wood processor. A little common sense goes a long way. So we've got this thing for at least another month. If not, maybe 2. That's going to be up to Clint. It is still officially his unit, so when he wants to come get it, he can come get it. But the next time we use this, we're going to have several videos coming up where we go out in the woods, and we've got a bunch of hazard trees, okay? We're going to stack this pile up as high as we can stack it, and I want to run this thing for an 8-hour day. I want to see how much wood can we process in an 8-hour day with this machine, how it handles it, and what you would expect if you were going to buy this for a firewood business. If you're doing more than just heating your home or heating your farm and you're, splitting your neighbor's wood for you, if you're going to buy this for a business, how's it going to hold up on an 8-hour day? That'll probably be towards the end of May. 555 stuff is coming up soon. YouTube yacht stuff will be coming up soon, believe it or not. The 318 that's behind you over there that you can't see will be coming up soon. Lots of great stuff. Oh, and working for Dirt Perfect, of course. I've got a couple more jobs he wants me to get knocked out before summertime gets busy for me. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel. I hope you're subscribed. I hope you're enjoying everything. Don't forget, we've got a Facebook and a TikTok and an Instagram, and we post all kinds of different content to all kinds of different platforms because that's what they require. And if you want to make it in the social media business, that's what you got to do. You got to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's all I got. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you on the next one. And make sure to go over to CNC Equipment and tell Clint thanks for this, because we're making videos because he let us.